This is the demo video for work completed during the most recent DLSS infrastructure team work cycle. I'm going to be showing you two new features that were added to H2, which is the online deposit application for the Stanford Digital Repository, or SDR. Normally the way users get content onto an object here is that they can upload one or more files for a total of less than about 10 gigabytes of content that is displayed as a flat list on an object. But we've added two new ways for users to upload their content. The first is support for hierarchical file structure. So this allows users to add in content with nested folders and subfolders. The way they do this is to zip up all the content with the file structures that they want into a single zip file and then drag that onto the object. Select the second option and drag that onto the object. Then they can deposit immediately here or save as a draft. Saving as draft allows you to see what has happened. The file gets unzipped and everything is displayed in its various folders as it existed in the zip file. The user can then go in here and modify individual pieces of this instead of having to replace the entire zip file. So they can delete individual files. They can add file descriptions and hide files as they always have been able to. And they can also add files. So I'm going to add one to the top level of this hierarchy. So that'll appear at the same place as growth curves. But you can also choose these icons over here if you want to add content to a specific folder lower down in the hierarchy. And then we're going to save that. And you can see now I have my kinase file here at the top. And I deleted a couple of files in this folder. In order to support end users being able to see this as well, we have made some changes to Stool Embed. So these changes affect content type of file that has a hierarchical structure. So this content is displayed in the viewer now with the nested structure with indents here over for the content that's in this folder. Users can browse all these individual files, download them. Actually, these are all expanded by default, but if you're not interested in this folder, you can collapse those things down. And so they have much easier access than just having one big zipped up folder with everything that they have to download. Now, if they want to download all this content after viewing it, they can click this button and it will download a zipped up file with all this content that retains all of the file, the structure, the hierarchical file structure. The second feature that we added is to enable an automated transfer of files via Globus. So we've been using Globus to add large content to SDR deposits for a long time, but this sort of takes the administrative work out of it for us, and so the user can complete this entirely themselves. This also lets the user come back in and modify their deposits later, something that they couldn't do in the past if we were helping them do these deposits. So they would come here, click this button, to choose the Globus option and then save this as a draft. Now, what happens at this point is that the system checks to see if the user has an account in the Globus system and they've logged into that system before. If they don't have an account, they will see a different message on this page here with a button, and they will be instructed to go set up a Stanford Globus user account and log into that account and set up whatever software they need to have set up. Come back here and click that button. When they do that, it will check again to make sure that they actually have logged into Globus. And if they have, then they will see this message displayed. At this point, the user gets an email from us with some instructions, as well as an email from Globus that tells them the link to the endpoint that we have created specifically for them to deposit files for this version of this particular item. At this point, the users are told that their content will appear here, their files will appear here once they've done the Globus transfer. So they are then required to go over to Globus. This is on the left an endpoint on our system, on the library system. This is my personal endpoint. And then I have taken these files from the right and transferred them to the Globus endpoint on the left. When you're finished doing that, you go back into Edit Your Deposit and you check this box to tell it that all your files are on Globus where they need to be, and then you save this deposit again. At that point, the system retrieves the files from Globus and you're able to finish filling out this form and complete your deposit. Because this is fairly complicated, we have a lot of instructions, and there are links to various parts of the instructions here in the application, but users can go over here anytime and look at these, and there's an overview of the deposit process in here, and specific instructions that depend on whether you're a new Globus user or a returning Globus user and where your content is stored.